welcome back to Rating the List, where we review, discuss, and reimagine popular movie lists objectively. We're your hosts. I'm Jerry.
And I'm Brad, and on this episode we'll be exploring number 22 from AFI's 100 Years, 100 Passions, the 100 Greatest Love Stories of All Time.
All right, number 22 is On Golden Pond, released in 1981, directed by Mark Rydell, starring Katharine Hepburn, Henry Fonda, Jane Fonda, and Dabney Coleman.
The synopsis for this family drama is as follows. Aging couple Ethel and Norma Thayer, Katharine Hepburn, and Henry Fonda continue their tradition of spending the summer at their cottage on northern New England lake, Golden Pond. As they resettle into their vacation home, Norman, who is about to turn 80, shows signs of memory problems. Ethel does her best to liven the atmosphere, but is visibly concerned. They are visited by their only child, Chelsea, played by Jane Fonda, who is somewhat estranged from her curmudgeon father. She introduces her parents to her fiancé, Bill, and his 13-year-old son, Billy. Norman attempts to play mind games with Bill, who lets Norman know he knows what he's doing, but will only take so much. Chelsea discusses with Ethel her frustrations with her father. Before parting on a European vacation, Chelsea and Bill ask her parents if they will allow Billy to stay for a month so they can have some time to themselves. Norman, seeming more senile and cynical than usual due to his pending 80th birthday and heart palpitations, agrees to let Billy stay. Billy is initially annoyed being left with old people with no friends around, but starts to bond with Norman during their fishing excursions. They become obsessed with catching Norman's fish rival, Walter, which eventually leads them to crash the boat and injure Norman. Once healed, Norman again fishes with Billy, and they manage to catch Walter, who they release. Chelsea returns and announces she's married to Bill. She's a little jealous that Norman has bonded with Billy, including teaching him to do a backflip, something she's never been able to do. Seeing the change in her father's demeanor, she tries and manages a backflip. Chelsea and Norman finally share an emotional embrace before she departs with Billy. The final day on Golden Pond, Norman collapses while packing. Ethel tries unsuccessfully to reach the hospital and goes to comfort her husband. After taking nitroglycerin, Norman says the pain is gone, and with Ethel's help, goes to the edge of the lake to say goodbye.
Okay, yeah. So one thing I have to say about this movie is I feel like it is casted with like all-time stars, yeah, right? With phenomenal actors. But honestly, it really has a TV movie feel to it.
I was just going to say, it has a little bit of a movie of the week feel to it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem, and I mean, we've seen movies that have come out in 1981, and I know it was a while back, but still, like, the production still looks well and looks good on film when you watch it now. This one just looked very low budget.
Yeah, it's extremely low budget for sure.
And it just looked, yeah, it just didn't have a movie theater release feel to it, to me.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me is it showing up on this list. It's a good movie. Mm-hmm. It's got great performances. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of reasons it should be on certain lists, but why is it on a love story list? You've got the love story with Norman and Ethel, but that isn't the crux of what this movie is about. Mm-hmm. This movie is about family. It's more about Norman and Chelsea and their relationship and generational stuff than it is about the love story between these two people. To me, there's very little drama or tension between these two people. Like, to me, it feels like their story is like rock solid. Right. Like they're a good couple. They know each other. She is well aware that he is going through the starts of dementia. Like she knows what's happening. Yeah. She's trying to be supportive of that. Right. But there's nothing between them. Like, there's no questions to answer between the two of them. There's no, you know, there's nothing that needs to be resolved between the two of them. If he dies the day after they leave this pond, there's nothing that's going to be left unsaid between these two.
Right.
And to me, that, like, you got to have something in a love story. There's got to be some resolution to move towards, and there really isn't one here. They have a nice, normal, long-term love story.
Yes. Yeah.
There's
nothing
nothing to add to it. You know, it's going to change here because he's clearly starting to have health problems, and it's going to affect him. And he's probably, I mean, you get the sense that this is the very last time that they're going to be in this cabin together.
Right. And I think too, the movie is really about him resolving his issue, him and his daughter Chelsea's bond, like reconnecting before he passes.
Well, creating a bond, because it doesn't seem like they ever had one. And he develops, you know, this fatherly kind of, you know, more fatherly, I'd say, than grandfatherly, in my opinion, with Billy. Yeah. That I think for the first time, he's never had that with Chelsea. So he kind of realizes the importance of that and what it means. He can see what it means to Billy. Billy comes out of his shell.
Okay, can we talk about Billy for a second?
Okay, so the kid that's playing this movie, he walks into the scene, and I swear to God, he looks
like... Put a picture of it in here.
He looks like he's like, it's almost like, you're like, you sit there and you're like, is he a little person? Because he looks hella old. He's 13. He looks like he's like 40.
He's like got a 12-year-old body and a 40-year-old face. So weird.
It's so bizarre.
It's so weird. Like, we were tripping out.
He looks
like, hey, Billy, you want a beer?
He looks so old.
He looks so old. Oh, God. Okay, so...
Anyway, it's
that aside...
It's an age-appropriate kid. He just looks super old. He
just looks really old for his age. Like all those kids did. Like the kids at the gas station.
Well, the kids at the gas station were older. They're like late teens, early 20s.
No, they were like, I think they were like middle school kids.
No, they weren't middle school kids.
Because they look like they were old. I'm like, wow, this is weird. Yeah, I put the tiny adult.
On your notes.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, and then it's like, so Chelsea comes with her new man and his son, and she's like, bye, we're leaving for Europe.
Yeah,
take care of this kid you just met.
Yeah, you met the kid 3 days ago, but, you know, can he stay here? Because we're going to go off.
We're going to go. So these people take it upon themselves to just, like, raise this kid for the summer.
Yeah.
You know, like... That's pretty crazy. And then she comes back and her father has bonded with Billy, right?
Yeah,
and
in a way that never happened with her, and she is livid.
She is so pissed off and upset about it. And it's like, what did you want him to do? You left him there.
Yeah, do you want him to like completely like neglect this kid?
Yeah.
And this kid's just like absolutely sour. And like how would that play out? Like, okay, say he doesn't bond with him. The kid just has the shittiest time. What's he going to remember? He's going to remember my dad's new wife left me with her old ass parents who I didn't, you know, have any fun with for an entire month. And now we're, you know, the two of us are going to be driving cross country or flying back to LA or whatever it is. And it's just like, he's not going to like her.
I mean, he has the best time.
Yeah.
He's having fun with both of them. They play games. They go out on the boat.
He clearly likes to read, so you know, they give him like, you know, the space to do that kind of stuff. He has this really kind of, he totally has like that kind of like relationship you get with, you know, between guys where they just like, they're busting balls and like, he says stuff you shouldn't say to an older, you know, if you're 13,
and vice versa.
13, you shouldn't say to someone you're 80, and it's just part of their relationship. Yeah, it's super funny.
It's super funny. But yeah, I mean, and honestly, what's interesting too is that when Chelsea is upset about her relationship with her father, her mother doesn't give her any sympathy.
No.
She does not accept it.
Partly because she recognizes that part of it is her fault. It's not all on Norman.
No. And so Chelsea says something pretty terrible
and her mom smacks
about
her.
him, and she slaps her across her face.
Yeah.
Like, don't talk about your father like that.
Yeah,
like,
that's my husband you're talking about.
That's my husband you're talking about. And it was like, whoa, so she, usually in these type of situations, we see the mother going like, I know,
right,
and it's okay. And
yeah,
she was not like that at all.
No,
she
because
was like, I don't understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so that was pretty interesting.
And I think the other thing too is, don't go into, like, she's thinking, like, don't go into this relationship with Billy with this chip on your shoulder, or you're going to turn into your dad and Billy is going to turn into you.
Yeah. So, yeah. So it's a good story. I feel like the production of the movie wasn't what it should have been.
I think my guess is they probably rushed this into production a little bit. So this is Henry Fonda's final film.
He's great.
He is nominated for an Academy Award. He wins the Academy Award, and he could not be there. Jane had to accept it on his behalf. He was gravely ill. He died just a few weeks after the Academy Award. So he was almost one of the first. He was almost the second person to win the award posthumously. He was he was really close to death at the time of the award. I think, probably when early March or whatever. And I think he died just a few weeks later after that. Pretty interesting stuff. Like, there's a lot of meta stuff going on in this. Apparently Jane picked this this story because it mirrors her real life relationship with Henry. So they were working through some shit. And
yeah, you could feel like that was like real emotion going on. Yeah. Real resentment.
Yeah. I mean, as far as final performances go, this is kind of a banger.
That's great. Katharine Hepburn was fantastic
really good too. She shows up in movies for like another 15 years somehow. Yeah. She's pretty, she's like in her 70s or whatever. I think she was 95 years old or something like that when she showed up in that little small part she's got in Love Story, or not Love Story, Love Affair or whatever, the remake that Annette Bening and what's his name?
An Affair to Remember?
Yeah, that remake that they did of that. That's her final performance, I think.
Oh, wow.
And she's like 95 in that.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah.
So, we've seen several Henry Fonda performances, seeing him as a, as a young man, as a middle-aged man.
He was in Jezebel.
Yeah. So, and then we get to see him here in the twilight of his life give a really, really great performance. There's a lot of things to like about this movie. I just don't feel that this is the appropriate list for it, for the things that I mentioned. I gave this movie a 57. Jerry gave it a 55. The list score is therefore 56.
Now, I feel like we're being a little bit harder on movies right now, but I mean, we're at the top of our list here. So
yeah. Honestly, the list is getting a little disappointing.
Yeah, it's really getting like they just threw movies at the list.
Yeah, I have some issues with some of the movies that are on the list, not because of the movies themselves, but I just don't think they're fits. But,
okay. All right, so that's our thoughts on Golden Pond. If you have anything to say about it, please leave comments in our feed or subscribe to our channel, or you could contact us directly at ratingthelist@gmail.com. But for now, that's it. I'm Jerry.
And I'm Brad.
And we're Rating the List. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.